There's a quiet moment in life, a subtle realization that catches you off guard. You've always thought you were making your own choices, shaping your future with deliberate hands. You've believed that you control the direction of your life, that you're fully in charge of your own fate. You were convinced that your actions, your decisions, and the paths you walk are the result of your own will. But then, something happens. You begin to notice how quickly your mood shifts when someone raises their voice, how easily your desires bend when someone praises or rejects you, how your opinions change depending on the stories you consume, the people you admire, and the subtle pressures around you. And then it hits you. Are you truly leading your own life? Or are you simply being led by unseen forces? This isn't just a fleeting thought. It's a realization that rattles you. It might be uncomfortable at first, even a little unsettling, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's the moment you realize that you're not as free as you once thought. You're not entirely the one pulling the strings. Psychological influence is like the wind, invisible but ever present. It shapes your thoughts, your actions, your choices, often without you even realizing it. It's not something that is forced upon you. It's an invisible current that flows through every interaction, every relationship, and every decision you make. This influence is what shapes love, ambition, trust, and even betrayal. Now, this might be uncomfortable to acknowledge. You might even feel a resistance to the very idea of being influenced, of being swayed by forces you don't fully understand. But here's the truth. Whether you admit it or not, influence governs everything. It dictates who rises to the top and who gets left behind. It molds the leaders we follow and the movements we join. It decides which ideas become revolutions and which dreams die in silence. But here's the catch. Mastering influence isn't about controlling others. It's not about manipulating, deceiving, or bending people to your will. The real mastery of influence is about understanding the game, understanding how it works, how you are influenced, and how you can align yourself with the forces that govern human behavior. Once you understand these forces, you no longer have to be the puppet in someone else's show. You become the one who holds the strings. So, why is this important for you? This book is not for those who wish to remain naive, those who are content to let life just happen to them. This journey is for the dreamers who are tired of being ignored, for the leaders who want to inspire without manipulating, and for the individuals who want to take back control of their lives, their thoughts, and their influence. It's time to stop being passive observers in your own life and start actively shaping the world around you. Psychological influence starts within. To truly influence others, you must first influence yourself. This might sound simple, but it's profound. You cannot master the art of shaping others' minds if you are at war with your own. You cannot inspire trust in others if you secretly despise yourself. You cannot guide others if you don't understand the motives driving your own actions. Real influence doesn't come from shouting the loudest or employing clever tactics. It comes from alignment. True influence comes when what you believe, what you feel, and what you project into the world are in harmony. Think about it for a moment. You can try to convince others with all the strategies in the world, but if your internal world doesn't align with your external actions, people will see through it. It's like a broken compass trying to point north. It might look right on the surface, but it will never get you where you want to go. Influence isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. or pretending to believe things you don't. It's about aligning your beliefs with your actions, your inner world with your outer world. And once that alignment happens, everything changes. Every conversation becomes an opportunity. Every interaction becomes a stage. Every obstacle becomes a chance to lead. When you are in alignment, your influence will radiate from within you. It will be effortless, because you won't be forcing it. You'll be embodying it. You'll be living the truth of who you are, and that authenticity will draw others to you. But there's a catch. You can't fake alignment. It's not something you can simply put on like a coat and wear for the day. It comes from a deep, personal transformation. It's about being the person you want to influence others to be. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, "This is who I am, and I am at peace with it." When you're in alignment with your own truth, you don't need to convince people of anything. They'll feel your authenticity, and that alone will speak volumes. Let's dive deeper into this process of alignment. In the next few sections, we'll explore how to identify the forces that have shaped your beliefs, how to understand the hidden influences that guide your behavior, and how to begin the process of self-alignment. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's the most important step in becoming a true master of influence. Influence isn't just about making others think the way you think or act the way you act. It's about first aligning yourself with what is true, not just for you, but for humanity. When you understand the deeper currents of human behavior, you'll see that psychological influence is not a trick or manipulation. It's a natural, inevitable force that can either hold you back or set you free. But what does this look like in practice? How can you align yourself with these forces to create a life of influence and power? The first step is understanding who you are at your core. This goes beyond your external identity, beyond the roles you play or the masks you wear. It's about understanding your values, your passions, and your purpose. It's about knowing what you stand for and what you will not stand for. When you understand your own inner workings, when you truly know what drives you, you gain the power to shape the world around you. Because at that moment, you stop being a passive observer in your own life and become an active participant. You can no longer be swayed by external forces because you have your internal compass. You know who you are, and that gives you the ability to lead with authenticity, to influence without manipulation. Now, here's a challenge for you. Take a moment right now and reflect. Who are you? Not the version of you that the world sees, but the version of you that exists beneath the surface. What do you truly believe? What are your core values? What motivates you to get out of bed every day? This isn't just an exercise for self-reflection. This is the foundation of your influence. If you can't answer these questions with clarity and confidence, then you've got work to do. And that work begins by understanding how influence has already shaped your life and how you can begin to take the reins back. In the chapters ahead, we'll go deeper into these concepts, uncovering the hidden forces that influence you and showing you how to use that awareness to transform not just your life, but the lives of those around you. But remember, this is just the beginning. The journey of mastering influence isn't about quick fixes or surface-level strategies. It's about understanding the deeper currents that govern human behavior and aligning yourself with those forces so that you can shape them to your will. Are you ready to begin this journey? To stop being a passive observer of your own life and start being the architect of your destiny? It's time to wake up, to see the forces that are already at play, and to learn how to harness them to create a life of influence, power, and purpose. This is just the beginning. In the quiet of the night, when the world around you fades into the background, there's a place within you that begins to stir, a place that has always been there, waiting to be acknowledged. It's the part of you that knows the truth, the part of you that senses something deeper beneath the surface. Healing is not as clear-cut as we think it is. It's not about simply surviving the pain, moving on, and pretending that the hurt never happened. Healing is quieter than that, and it's far more profound. You might have believed that once the wounds from your past were patched up, you would magically emerge stronger, unbreakable, and ready to conquer the world. But in reality, healing is not a celebration. It's a transformation. It's waking up to realize that the person you once were is gone, and the person you are becoming doesn't yet feel familiar. It's the space between who you were and who you are still learning to be. And that space can be incredibly unsettling. In that gap, between two versions of yourself, lies a strange loneliness. You carry invisible scars that others can't see, and you wonder if anyone will ever truly understand the weight of what you've been through. That's where most people get stuck, not in the pain itself, but in that space of uncertainty. We rush toward positivity, urging others to move on, as if moving on means erasing the past. But here's the truth. What you don't honor, you repeat. It's easy to try to bury your past, to pretend that it never happened. But doing so only prolongs the pain. Your story doesn't disappear because you try to suppress it. It festers beneath the surface, shaping your choices, your relationships, and the way you view yourself. This is why so many people who appear healed still sabotage their own happiness. They may have patched the wounds, but they never took the time to honor them, to learn from them. Healing doesn't mean pretending the hurt never happened. It's not about erasing the past or dismissing the experiences that shaped you. Healing is about integration. It's about saying, yes, this happened to me, and because of it, I now see the world differently. This new perspective has value. It's the idea of honoring your past, not by clinging to it, but by accepting the lessons it has to offer. Your scars are not weaknesses to hide. They are the proof that you endured, adapted, and transformed. Take, for instance, the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is mended with gold. The cracks are not hidden or erased. They are celebrated as part of the piece's beauty. Human beings are no different. Your scars are not imperfections to conceal. They are evidence of your strength, your resilience, and your ability to evolve. They are proof that you survived, and not just survived, but grew. To live this truth, to truly honor your healing, you must shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you must ask, "How can I honor what I've survived?" This shift in mindset changes everything. It's a shift from victimhood to empowerment. When you honor your scars, they no longer have the power to control you. You take control of your own story, shaping it into one of resilience and strength. Let's take a moment to think about this. How many times have you tried to bury your pain, thinking that by doing so, you would finally be free of it? How many times have you avoided confronting the wounds that still linger, hoping they would heal on their own? And yet, deep down, you know that this kind of healing never truly works. The wounds may scab over, but they never fully close until you face them, honor them, and allow them to teach you what they have to offer. I once met a man who had lost everything in a financial collapse. He told me that for years, he hated himself for trusting the wrong people, for making what he called stupid decisions. He felt like he had failed, like he was unworthy of success. But the turning point came when he stopped seeing that period of his life as a tragedy and began treating it as a teacher. He started writing letters to his younger self, not to forgive himself, but to thank himself. "Thank you for taking that risk," he said. "Thank you for being brave when I didn't know any better. That version of me is the reason I have the wisdom I carry today." Now, that's what honoring looks like. It's refusing to despise the parts of you that we're still learning how to live. It's recognizing that even the mistakes, the failures, and the pain all have value because they contributed to who you are today. And so, I challenge you to ask yourself, where in your life have you patched up a wound but failed to honor it? Maybe it's the heartbreak you never allowed yourself to fully feel. Perhaps it's the betrayal you shrugged off, thinking that ignoring it would make it go away. Or maybe it's the dream that collapsed while you pretended it never mattered. Write it down. Say its name. Don't say it to dwell on the pain, but to reclaim it. Reclaim the lesson, the strength, and the growth that came with it. Reclaim the version of you that emerged from that experience, because that version of you has something to offer. Honor the person you have become, and in doing so, you'll free yourself from the weight of the past. This is where true power lies. When you stop running from your past and start honoring it, you become the author of your own story. No longer will you be defined by the wounds you've carried. You will be defined by the strength, resilience, and wisdom that those wounds have given you. There's a powerful shift that happens when you honor your healing. You move from being a victim of your past to a creator of your future. You stop letting the scars define you, and instead, you use them as the foundation for your growth. Honor your scars, and in doing so, you'll find the strength to move forward. We are all on this journey together, and each one of us has scars, wounds, and painful stories that have shaped us. But what truly matters is not how we were hurt, but how we choose to heal. Healing isn't about escaping the pain. It's about embracing it, learning from it, and letting it transform us into the person we were always meant to be. As you move forward, ask yourself, what lessons are your scars trying to teach you? Write them down, share them, and let them guide you as you step into the next chapter of your life. When we can honor our healing, we stop running from the past and begin to create a future that is rooted in the strength we've gained. And in doing so, we become not just survivors, but thrivers. The people we were always meant to become. Imagine walking through a crowded street, surrounded by hundreds of people, each one lost in their own world. You move among them, seemingly unnoticed, your thoughts, your only companion. But then, something shifts. A stranger looks at you, their eyes meeting yours, and for a brief moment, everything else fades away. There is a connection, an exchange, a silent communication that passes between you. It's not the words spoken, but the unspoken understanding, the invisible force that is felt long before it's seen. This is the essence of psychological influence, the quiet forces that pull at your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. Influence is not a loud, obvious force. It does not shout its commands or demand attention. It works subtly, like the air you breathe, the gravity that keeps you grounded. It whispers, and if you're not paying attention, you might miss it altogether. The problem, though, is that most of us don't realize how deeply we are influenced by these unseen forces. Every choice you make, every path you walk, is shaped by them. They affect your desires, your fears, your motivations, and often, they come from places you don't even consciously recognize. Think about the last time you bought something. Maybe you bought a new phone, or a fancy watch, or a piece of clothing that caught your eye. Did you really need it? Did you want it? Or was it seeded in you by an advertisement, a social media post, or a conversation you overheard? You might have believed that the decision was yours, that you made it freely, based on your own wants and needs. But the reality is far more complex. Influence isn't about loud declarations or manipulative tactics. It's about the subtle, invisible forces that nudge you in one direction or another, often without you even realizing it. The most dangerous thing about influence is that it operates under the surface. It's like a current beneath the water, pushing and pulling, guiding you in ways that feel natural, but that are actually carefully shaped long before you noticed. Here's where it gets tricky. Most people confuse influence with manipulation. When you're not aware of these hidden forces, when you don't understand the way influence works, it feels dirty. It feels like manipulation. But the truth is, influence is neutral. Just like fire, it can be used for good or bad. In the hands of a careless person, it can burn and destroy. But in the hands of a master, it can warm and illuminate. The tragedy is that most people wield influence unconsciously. They walk through life unaware of the forces shaping their decisions. Leaders manipulate their teams without even realizing it. Parents unknowingly shape their children's futures with their moods and actions. Lovers trigger each other's deepest fears, all while unaware of which buttons they are pressing. Influence is everywhere, and yet, we are blind to it. So, how do you break free from these hidden forces? The first step is to acknowledge them. You must stop denying that influence plays a role in your life. You must stop pretending that you are purely logical, that every decision you make is based on rational thought. Your emotions, your pride, your need for validation, your desire to belong. All of these factors shape your choices just as much as your intellect does. And until you accept this, you will remain vulnerable to the forces around you. It's important to note that denying influence doesn't make you immune to it. In fact, it makes you more susceptible. Those who refuse to see the invisible strings pulling them are often the easiest to manipulate. If you can't recognize the forces at play in your own life, how can you possibly guard against them? Think of the last time someone spoke with confidence, even when they didn't know what they were talking about. Notice how people leaned in, how their attention was drawn to the certainty in that person's voice, even if the content didn't make sense. It's a subtle form of influence, and we all fall victim to it at times. It's the same with body language. When someone smiles, even if they don't say a word, the entire energy of the room changes. Influence is that powerful. To begin mastering psychological influence, you first have to observe it. Watch how people respond to certain cues. Notice how you react when someone speaks with authority, when they use certain phrases, or when they make specific gestures. These are all forms of influence that work on a subconscious level. You might not be aware of them, but your mind is processing them constantly. Let's take a moment for a personal reflection. When was the last time you made a decision based on how someone else made you feel? Maybe it was a purchase that you now regret, or a choice you made because you wanted to fit in. Think about the moments when your choices weren't truly yours, but were subtly influenced by someone else. Write down these experiences and look for patterns. These are the areas of your life where influence has been shaping you. Now, take it a step further. Notice how your environment influences you. The media you consume, the people you associate with, the social groups you belong to. All of these have a profound impact on the decisions you make. They influence how you see the world, how you see yourself, and how you see others. Your environment shapes your reality, and in turn, your choices shape your environment. For example, if you're constantly surrounded by negative energy, by people who complain and bring you down, how do you think that affects your mindset? On the other hand, if you surround yourself with positive, empowered people, your mindset will shift to match theirs. Influence isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you allow to happen. Once you start observing how influence operates in your life, you can begin to take control of it. You don't need to reject it entirely. That's impossible, and it's not even necessary. Instead, learn to direct it. When you understand the forces at play, you gain the ability to use them to your advantage. You no longer have to be a passive participant in your own life. Instead, you can actively shape your environment, your decisions, and your actions in a way that aligns with your true values and goals. There's a story of a teacher who once asked her students to carry a glass of water around the classroom. At first, it seemed easy, even laughable. But as time went on, the weight of the glass began to wear on them. Their arms ached, and many of them eventually gave up. The teacher's point was simple. The glass was never heavy. You just didn't realize how long you had been carrying it. Influence works the same way. The beliefs, ideas, and values that you hold on to, many of them were placed in your hands years ago, without you even noticing. At first, they may have felt light, but the longer you hold on to them without questioning them, the heavier they become. And just like that glass of water, you might not even realize how much they're weighing you down until it's too late. Mastering psychological influence begins with dropping the glass. It starts by asking yourself, which beliefs did I adopt because they were truly mine? And which ones did I adopt because they were convenient for others? The beliefs you hold, the thoughts you think, the decisions you make, all of these are influenced by your environment, your upbringing, and the people around you. But when you begin to question them, when you start to break free from the beliefs that no longer serve you, you can begin to reclaim your power. Influence isn't something to fear or avoid. It's a force that is always at play, shaping you in ways both subtle and profound. The key to mastering it is not rejecting it, but understanding it. Once you understand how influence works, both in your life and in the lives of others, you can begin to use it to shape your own destiny. The next time you find yourself making a decision, take a moment to reflect. Was this truly my choice? Or was I influenced by something or someone else? By becoming aware of the invisible forces at play, you can regain control of your life. You can shape your own reality, influence those around you with authenticity, and move toward a future that reflects your true desires. Every human life is built on stories. Some are handed to us. We inherit them from our families, our cultures, our societies. They shape the way we see the world, the way we see ourselves, others. We create ourselves. These are the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of the things we can't quite explain, the pain we can't fully process, and the dreams that feel impossible. But here's the thing about stories. They shape our reality more than we realize. The stories we hold on to dictate what we believe we deserve, how much we dare to dream, and how quickly we give up when life resists us. The most dangerous part of these stories is not that they exist, but that most of them are invisible. They live in the background, always playing, rarely questioned, quietly guiding us toward a future we never consciously chose. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What stories have you told yourself that have defined who you are? Maybe it's the story that you'll never be successful, that no matter how hard you try, you'll always fall short. Perhaps it's the story that you don't deserve love, or that happiness is something that always seems just out of reach. These stories are not just narratives. They are cages disguised as identities. They shape the choices you make, the risks you take or avoid, and the opportunities you allow yourself to pursue. And yet, we cling to these stories because they provide safety. Even the painful stories, even the stories that hold us back, offer us a certain comfort. At least they are familiar. They give us rules to follow, roles to play, and villains to blame. When you hold on to a story of failure or rejection, it feels safe because it confirms what you already believe about yourself. It may hurt, but it's a pain you know, and that kind of certainty can feel safer than the unknown. But transformation requires a shift to create a new life, a life where you are no longer bound by the stories that have held you captive. You must be willing to let go of the old narrative. And here's the catch. To do this, you first have to confront the story that's been running the show without your permission. You have to recognize that the story you've been telling yourself may not be true. In fact, it may be a lie you've been living for far too long. Let me share an example. I once worked with a woman who had been told her entire life that she was too much, too loud, too opinionated, too passionate. She had internalized these messages, and for years, she shrank herself. She became quiet, reserved, and avoided taking up space. She lived out the story that she was somehow too much for the world to handle, and in doing so, she dimmed her light. But one day, something shifted. She met a mentor who saw her for who she truly was. Not too much, but exactly enough. This mentor helped her see that her strength came from her voice, from her passion, and from her ability to make bold, unapologetic choices. The mentor didn't try to change her. Instead, they helped her rewrite the story she had been telling herself. She learned that she wasn't too much for the world. She was exactly what the world needed. And so, she began to shed the old story. She began to speak her truth. She took up space. She started showing up as her full self, without apology. And as she did, she realized that not only did she begin to thrive, but she also gave permission for others to do the same. She became an example of what it looks like to rewrite your story, to stop living according to someone else's script, and to start living your truth. You might be thinking, but what if my story is true? What if I've failed too many times, or been hurt too much, to believe that I can rewrite it? Here's the thing. Your story is only as true as you allow it to be. Stories are not permanent. They are not etched in stone, and you are not the sum total of your past experiences unless you choose to be. Your story is a living, breathing thing, and you can rewrite it at any moment. Take the story of someone who has always been told they would never succeed. Maybe they've failed at multiple ventures, had doors slammed in their face, and heard no more times than they care to count. It would be easy for them to hold on to the narrative of failure, to believe that success is just not meant for them. But if they choose to shift their perspective, if they choose to see failure not as a permanent marker, but as a learning experience, their entire future begins to change. That's the power of shifting your narrative. You stop seeing failure as a reflection of your worth. You stop seeing rejection as evidence that you're not good enough. Instead, you see them for what they truly are: stepping stones on the path to success. The moment you change your story, you begin to change your life. But changing your story is not easy. It requires awareness. It requires brutal honesty with yourself. You must be willing to look at the parts of your story that are holding you back and ask, is this really who I am? Is this really true? The truth is, most of the time, the answer is no. The story you've been telling yourself isn't the full story. It's just the part you've chosen to focus on. Think about the story you've been living. What parts of it are you ready to release? What parts of your narrative are you ready to rewrite? Maybe you've been living a story of limitation, of fear, of playing small. But here's the good news. You can rewrite it. You have the power to change your narrative. And the moment you do, you will start to see your world change. You will start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You will begin to take risks you once avoided. And most importantly, you will begin to see yourself differently, as someone who is capable, worthy, and ready for the life they have always dreamed of. The key to mastering influence, not just over others, but over yourself, is mastering your own story. Your story shapes how you move through the world. It shapes how others see you. It shapes how you see yourself. And once you take control of that story, once you start telling yourself a story of power, possibility, and transformation, you will begin to move differently. You will influence not by force or manipulation, but by the energy you radiate. Ask yourself, what story have I been living? And more importantly, what story do I want to start living? The moment you ask yourself this question is the moment your transformation begins. Your story is yours to rewrite. Take back the pen. Trust is one of the most delicate things in the world. It is fragile, easily broken, and yet it is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, every strong team, and every thriving community. It's not built on grand gestures or promises. It's built in the quiet moments, the things that go unnoticed, the subtle signals we give and receive from one another. A glance that says, I see you. A word that matches an action. A promise kept even when no one is watching. Yet, just as buildings take years to construct, trust can collapse in an instant. A single fracture can shake the entire structure, leaving everything uncertain. But here's the crucial point. Trust is not built on perfection. It is not about avoiding mistakes. It is about consistency. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about being who you say you are, not just when it's convenient, but when it's hard. So, why do people struggle to build trust? Why does it seem so difficult for so many of us to cultivate real, lasting trust in ourselves and others? The truth is, trust erodes quietly. in the moments that don't seem significant. It's when your words don't align with your actions, when your intentions are unclear, or when your promises are left unfulfilled. These small, unspoken fractures accumulate over time, and without realizing it, you begin to lose trust, not only with others, but with yourself. Let's take a closer look at this idea of trust. Think about a leader you admire, someone you would follow into any situation, someone whose words carry weight. Why do you trust them? It's not just because they're skilled at what they do. It's not just because they have all the answers. You trust them because their actions align with their words. They show up consistently, and you know that when they make a promise, they'll keep it. You trust them because, in every moment, they prove who they are through their behavior. Now, think about a time when you've felt betrayed, when someone broke your trust. Perhaps it wasn't a huge betrayal, but a small, subtle crack in the foundation. Maybe it was a promise left unkept, a word not followed by action. The pain of betrayal is not always about the big things. It's the small moments of neglect that add up. Until one day, you look back and realize the trust has been eroded, little by little. This is where most people go wrong. They believe trust fails because of betrayal. But often, betrayal is just the final crack. The trust had been broken long before that, but no one paid attention to the small fractures. Trust erodes when words feel hollow, when intentions are unclear, when what you show people and what you truly mean are not the same. We all have an instinct for this. We can feel it when someone is being insincere, when their actions don't match their words. So, how do we begin to rebuild trust, both in ourselves and with others? It starts with alignment. To build trust, you must first decide who you are, and then live in harmony with that decision. This means no more pretending, no more adjusting your personality to fit what you think others want to hear. Authenticity is the foundation of trust, and the moment you stop trying to be impressive, the moment you stop performing for the world, you become trustworthy. This is a paradox that most people miss. You cannot build trust through performance. You cannot build trust by constantly trying to impress others. Trust is built by being real, by showing up consistently, by making sure your words match your actions. The more authentic you are, the more people will trust you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. You don't need to be flawless. You just need to be who you say you are. Think about a time when you trusted someone completely. Why did you trust them? Chances are, it wasn't because they were perfect or never made mistakes. It was because you saw them as someone reliable, someone who showed up, someone whose actions matched their words. Trust doesn't come from perfection. It comes from consistency. Now, take a moment to reflect on your own life. Whose trust do you truly hold? And, perhaps the more difficult question, whose trust have you neglected without realizing it? Trust is a delicate thing, and sometimes we fail to realize just how much we take it for granted. We assume that because someone is close to us, because they love us or admire us, that they will trust us no matter what. But trust is built on more than love or admiration. It's built on consistency. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you've broken someone's trust, even without meaning to? Maybe you didn't keep a promise, or you didn't show up when you said you would. Maybe your actions didn't match your words, and the other person felt hurt by it. We all make mistakes, but the key to rebuilding trust is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about how you respond to them. Do you show up when things go wrong? Do you admit your mistakes openly? Do you take responsibility for the fractures in the relationship? The most trustworthy people I know aren't those who never make mistakes. They're the ones who take full responsibility for their actions and are willing to make things right when trust is broken. They don't hide from their mistakes. They don't make excuses. Instead, they show up, they apologize, and they take action to make amends. It's this consistency in their behavior that makes them trustworthy. The same is true when it comes to influencing others. If you want to lead, if you want to have an impact on the world around you, you must first build trust. And that trust will only come through consistency, through showing up, through being authentic, and through making sure your words align with your actions. Influence without trust may win compliance, but it will never win loyalty. So, here's the question for you. What are you willing to do today to rebuild trust, either in yourself or in someone else? Think about one area of your life where trust has been broken, whether that's with a friend, a partner, a coworker, or even with yourself. What action can you take today to start rebuilding that trust? It may not be easy. It may require humility. It may require you to face uncomfortable truths. But it's in those uncomfortable moments that true influence is born. When you choose to rebuild trust, you are choosing to become a person whose words and actions align. And that is the essence of influence. Authenticity builds trust. Consistency builds trust. And trust is the foundation of all influence. We often tell ourselves that we are logical beings, that our decisions are based on reason and thought. Yet, when you look closely, it becomes clear that we are far more emotional than we care to admit. Our feelings, our unconscious biases, and the energy we project play a much greater role in our decisions than we like to acknowledge. Influence is not just about what you say. It is about the way you carry yourself, the energy you bring into a room, and the silent messages you transmit without even uttering a word. Think about the last time you walked into a room. What was the first thing you noticed? Was it the decor, the sounds, the conversations, or was it the energy in the room? Perhaps there was a certain person whose presence felt magnetic. They didn't need to say a word, but their energy was undeniable. Now think of the opposite. Someone who walked into the room with an energy that felt off. They could have been smiling, but something in their body language, their tone, their overall presence made you uncomfortable. That is the silent language of influence. It speaks louder than any words ever could. We often ignore this silent language because it's difficult to quantify. It's not something we can easily measure or describe. But if you've ever experienced it, you know it's real. It's the feeling you get when someone is trying to convince you of something, but you don't buy it because their words don't match their energy. It's the feeling you get when someone walks into a room and immediately makes everyone feel calm, confident, or at ease. The words they speak are important, but it's their presence that truly shapes the environment. This is where many people fail. They focus on the surface-level aspects of influence, the clever words, the rehearsed speeches, the polished presentations. But what they fail to realize is that influence comes not from performance, but from alignment. What you feel on the inside must match what you project on the outside. This is why some people can speak with authority, but their words fall flat. They might say all the right things, but their energy says something else. They might be telling you they're confident, but their body language says they're not. They might be telling you they're trustworthy, but their eyes betray them. Influence is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about aligning who you are with what you project. When you speak, when you act, when you move through the world, you must do so with a sense of congruence. When your words, your actions, and your energy align, people will feel that. And that is the foundation of true influence. Let's take a moment to reflect on this. When was the last time you felt a disconnect between someone's words and their energy? Maybe it was a leader who spoke about trust, but never seemed to follow through. Or a friend who promised to be there for you, but their actions never lined up. We've all experienced this. We've all been in situations where the words didn't match the energy, and we've instinctively known that something wasn't quite right. The energy we project speaks louder than the words we say. If you want to influence others, if you want to become a true leader, you must first be real. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. But it does mean you must be authentic. Authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are genuine, to those who don't try to be something they're not. When you align your inner world with your outer world, you become a force of influence. People will trust you, not because you tell them to, but because they can feel your authenticity. They can sense that what you say is true because your energy matches it. Now, take a moment to reflect on yourself. How often do you feel out of alignment with who you really are? Do you feel like you're performing, trying to be someone you think others want you to be? Or do you feel confident in your authenticity, in who you truly are? If you feel a disconnect between your inner world and your outer world, that's okay. But recognizing it is the first step toward change. The more you understand the silent language of influence, the more you will be able to project your true self into the world without the need for performance or manipulation. Here's an exercise. The next time you enter a room, pause before you speak or act. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what energy am I bringing into this space? How do I feel in this moment? Are my words in alignment with my emotions, my body language, and my intentions? Are there any inconsistencies? If there are, take a moment to center yourself. The more you practice this alignment, the more natural it will become. And the more aligned you are, the more influence you will have. The silent language of influence is not just a technique. It's a way of being. It's about aligning your inner truth with your outer expression. It's about being real, being authentic, and showing up as who you truly are, not who you think others want you to be. When you live in this alignment, influence becomes effortless. You no longer need to push, persuade, or manipulate. Your presence alone will be enough to inspire, to lead, and to move others. But remember, this doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It requires self-awareness and a willingness to be vulnerable. It requires you to step into your truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. But once you do, you'll begin to notice how much easier it becomes to influence others, not through words, but through who you are. Let's talk about the power of vulnerability for a moment. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful tools of influence. When you allow yourself to be seen, when you stop pretending to have it all together, you open the door for others to connect with you on a deeper level. People don't trust perfection. They trust authenticity. They trust the person who is willing to admit their mistakes, who is open about their struggles, and who embraces their imperfections. Vulnerability is the foundation of trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. Think about a leader you admire. Do you admire them because they have all the answers? Or do you admire them because they are authentic? Because they show up as their true selves, imperfections and all? The most influential people are often those who are willing to be vulnerable, who are willing to share their truth, and who are not afraid to show their humanity. If you want to master the silent language of influence, you must be willing to be vulnerable. You must be willing to align your inner truth with your outer expression, to be authentic in every moment. When you do, your influence will become effortless. You won't need to manipulate, to push, or to convince. Your presence will speak for itself. Now ask yourself, what is the energy I'm bringing into the world? Is it authentic? Is it in alignment with who I truly am? If not, what can I do to change that? When you begin to answer these questions, you will be taking the first steps toward mastering the silent language of influence. Influence begins with a simple yet profound realization. Desire is the driving force behind everything we do. Every action, every decision, every pursuit is shaped by what we desire, even if we're not always fully conscious of it. Desire is not just about material things or achieving a specific goal. It's the deeper, more fundamental pull that drives us to seek something greater than ourselves. It's the need for connection, for meaning, for validation, for freedom, for love. And here's the key. People move, not because they are told to, but because they want to. It's not about what they need. It's about what they truly crave. This understanding of desire is the heart of influence. If you want to truly influence others, you must first understand what they are truly craving beneath the surface. No one ever wants only what they say they want. We all crave something deeper. The things we tell ourselves we need are often just the surface-level manifestations of a deeper, more profound desire. Think about it. When someone says they want money, what do they really want? On the surface, it seems clear. They want financial security or the ability to buy things they desire. But dig deeper, and you'll see that the real desire is often something far more powerful. Maybe it's security, the peace of mind that comes from knowing they won't have to worry about their future. Maybe it's freedom, the freedom to live life on their own terms, without the constraints of financial stress. Or maybe it's something more profound, the desire to feel worthy of a life they've always dreamed of, but never believed was possible for them. Now, consider the person who says they want love. It seems simple, right? They want a relationship. But if you look deeper, you'll see that what they really crave is not just a partner, but to be seen, to be understood, to know that they matter to someone in a way that gives them significance. It's the desire to feel accepted and valued, to find someone who will love them unconditionally and make them feel worthy. Beneath the surface, it's not the relationship itself that they seek, but the validation that comes with it. This is where most people go wrong in their pursuit of influence. They focus on the surface-level desire, the thing that people say they want, but they fail to understand the underlying motivations. If you can tap into that deeper desire, you can not only guide someone toward what they want, but you can show them that what they really crave has been within their reach all along. The key to influence is not just giving people what they think they want, but guiding them toward the deeper desires they may not even recognize. Let's take an example from the business world. Think about the last time you made a purchase, whether it was a product, a service, or an experience. What drove you to make that purchase? Was it because the product or service was necessary? Perhaps. But if you dig deeper, it's likely that there was a desire at play. The desire to feel better, to look better, or to have something that made life a little easier or more enjoyable. Businesses that understand this psychology know that people don't buy products. They buy the feelings associated with those products. They sell the desire, the outcome that the customer craves, not just the thing they think they need. This is where influence truly takes root. When you understand what people really want, you can begin to speak to those deeper desires. Whether you're leading a team, coaching a client, or engaging in a conversation, tapping into those unspoken cravings allows you to inspire action, spark change, and move people in ways that are powerful and transformative. Let's look at an example of influence in action. Imagine a leader who is trying to rally a team toward a common goal. The leader could focus on the surface-level desire. We need to hit this target to make money. But if the leader truly understands what drives the team members, they might frame the goal in a different way. They might say, by hitting this target, we will not only secure financial stability for all of us, but we'll also have the freedom to shape our own futures and create a legacy we can be proud of. Do you see the difference? The first statement focuses on the task at hand, the external goal, but the second taps into the deeper desires, security, freedom, and legacy. These are the things that people truly crave. The leader isn't just telling the team what they need to do. They're aligning the team's deeper desires with the goal at hand, turning it into a shared mission that's not just about hitting a target, but about fulfilling a deeper, more meaningful need. This is the essence of influence. Desire shapes decisions. The more deeply you understand what someone is truly craving, the more powerful your influence can be. And once you learn to tap into these desires, you'll begin to see the power you hold to shape outcomes, to inspire change, and to move people in the direction you want to go, not through manipulation, but through a deep understanding of what drives them. Now, think about your own life. What do you truly desire? You might think you want success, or money, or fame. But what lies beneath those desires? What is the deeper, more profound craving that drives your every decision, your every action? Is it freedom? The ability to live life on your own terms? Is it connection? The need to feel valued and understood by others? Or is it purpose? The desire to leave a legacy and make an impact on the world around you? Take some time to reflect on this. Ask yourself, what do I really desire beneath the surface? Dig deeper than the first answer that comes to mind. And then, once you've identified that desire, ask yourself, how can I begin to align my actions, my goals, and my life with this deeper desire? This is the key to influence, not only over others, but over yourself. When you align your actions with what you truly desire, you will become more confident, more focused, and more driven. You will stop chasing surface-level goals and start pursuing the things that truly matter to you. And when you do that, you will naturally begin to influence others, not by giving them what they think they want, but by guiding them toward what they truly crave. Influence is about understanding desire. When you understand what people truly want, when you understand their deepest motivations, you can influence them in ways that are powerful and lasting. It's not about manipulating people to get what you want. It's about understanding what they really want and guiding them toward fulfilling that need in the most authentic and meaningful way possible. Fear is often painted as the antagonist in our lives. It's the silent voice in the back of our minds telling us to stay safe. Don't take risks, play it small. It tells us that venturing out of our comfort zone could lead to failure, embarrassment, or worse. We all know fear intimately. It lives in us, influences us, and at times paralyzes us. But what if, instead of seeing fear as an enemy to be avoided, we began to see it as a guide, an indicator that we are on the verge of something important? Fear is often the first storyteller we encounter when we are faced with change. It whispers in your ear, "You're not ready yet." It tells you that you're not good enough, not prepared enough, not smart enough to take that next step. Fear will try to convince you that it's protecting you, keeping you safe. But in reality, fear is a liar. It disguises itself as logic, and it uses the illusion of caution to keep you stuck. Think about the last time you wanted to take a leap. Maybe it was starting a new project, asking for a promotion, or even pursuing a new relationship. What was the first thing that came to mind? Was it excitement, anticipation, or was it fear? Chances are, fear was one of the first things that surfaced, followed by a string of negative thoughts telling you why it wouldn't work, why you shouldn't try, why now isn't the right time. Fear has a way of distorting reality, of magnifying the risks while minimizing the rewards. But here's the truth. Fear doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. Fear doesn't protect you from harm. It protects you from growth. If you've ever felt that pit in your stomach before trying something new, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Fear can make you feel like you're about to step off the edge of a cliff, when in reality, you're only taking a step forward into the unknown. Let's take a closer look at how fear works. Fear is not a static force. It's a dynamic emotion that changes shape depending on where we are in life. When we are young, fear keeps us from touching the stove or running into the street. But as we grow older, fear takes on new forms. It tells us not to speak up, not to take chances, not to challenge the status quo. It tells us to stay comfortable, to stay in our lane, to avoid anything that might bring discomfort. But here's the key. Fear always thrives in the unknown. The moment we step outside of what's familiar, the moment we try something new, fear makes its presence known. It will appear in the form of self-doubt, anxiety, and hesitation. It will try to convince you that you are not ready, not capable, not worthy of the next step. And for many, this is where the journey stops. They hear the voice of fear, they listen to it, and they retreat back into their comfort zones. But those who succeed, those who transform their lives, are the ones who have learned to embrace fear rather than run from it. They understand that fear is not a signal to stop, but a signal to go. Fear is a sign that you're on the brink of something significant. It's the first sign that you're stepping into growth, that you're pushing yourself toward a new level of potential. There's a story of an elephant that perfectly illustrates this point. As a baby, it was tied to a small wooden post, unable to break free. Over time, the elephant learned that it couldn't break free from the rope, so it stopped trying. As it grew, it became a massive adult, powerful enough to uproot trees. Yet, it still stayed tethered to that same small post, even though it could easily break free. The elephant had forgotten its power because it had been conditioned to believe it couldn't escape. This story is a perfect metaphor for how fear works. It convinces us that we are powerless, that we can't break free from the constraints that bind us. But the reality is, we are often not bound by limitations. We are bound by the stories we tell ourselves, the stories that fear has ingrained in us over the years. The moment we step beyond the fear, beyond the stories, we realize that we are capable of far more than we ever imagined. What's keeping you tethered to your own small post? What fears have conditioned you to believe that you can't step into your full potential? The truth is, most of the time, the chains holding us back are imaginary. They are created by fear. And the moment we stop listening to that voice, the moment we break free from the lies it tells us, we realize that the post we've been tethered to is nothing more than a faint illusion. Fear thrives when we refuse to face it. It grows stronger when we let it dictate our actions. But when we face it head-on, when we step into it with courage, we begin to shrink its power. The more we confront fear, the smaller it becomes. And as fear shrinks, our confidence grows. You might be thinking, but what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? And that's a valid concern. Failure is a part of growth. It's part of the process. But here's the truth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Every successful person has faced failure. Every leader has faced rejection. Every dreamer has faced doubt. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. They didn't let fear stop them. The next time you feel that fear rising within you, that voice telling you to turn back, ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Picture yourself stepping forward, taking that leap, acting with courage despite the fear. What could you accomplish if you chose to take that step, even in the face of uncertainty? Fear is not your enemy. It is a messenger. It is telling you that you are on the verge of something important. It is telling you that you are about to break through, to evolve, to grow into the person you were always meant to be. Don't run from it. Step into it. When you embrace fear, you will discover a power within yourself that you never knew existed. When you face fear, you reclaim your power. You stop being controlled by the unknown, and you begin to shape your own destiny. Fear will no longer dictate your life. You will. So, ask yourself, what decision in your life has been frozen by fear? What is one step you can take today, even while afraid? Write it down and share it. And if this message resonated with you, send it to someone who is also standing at the edge of their own fear. Remind them that the most powerful thing they can do is step forward, even when they are afraid. Control. It's one of the most seductive forces in our lives. We crave it. We seek it in every aspect of our existence, in our relationships, in our work, and even in the way we manage our own thoughts. We believe that control is the answer to uncertainty. It promises stability, security, and safety. If we can control our circumstances, our outcomes, and the people around us, we think we'll finally feel at peace. But here's the paradox. The more we chase control, the more we lose it. The harder we try to hold everything in place, the more it slips through our fingers. Control doesn't bring freedom. It brings anxiety. It brings stress. It breeds fear. Because when we cling too tightly, we become afraid of losing our grip. Control starts as a survival instinct. As children, we quickly learn that when things are predictable, we can relax. When we know what's coming, we feel safe. So, We begin to seek control over our environment. We try to organize our world in a way that brings us comfort. But what happens when control becomes the end goal, not the means to an end? What happens when control becomes the very thing we depend on to feel secure? Here's what happens. We create prisons out of our own need for control. We become obsessed with managing every detail of our lives. We micromanage our relationships, our work, and our time. We control our emotions, suppress our desires, and structure our day to fit a narrow view of how life should be. But in doing so, we restrict the flow of life itself. We stop allowing the natural rhythm of life to unfold, and in the process, we suffocate our potential. True influence doesn't come from control. It comes from understanding that life is unpredictable, that circumstances are constantly shifting, and that control is an illusion. You can try to control every variable, predict every outcome, and bend the world to your will. But the more you try, the more frustrated you'll become. The more you push, the more you'll find resistance. The more you try to manipulate your surroundings, the more you'll create tension. Imagine a martial artist who faces an opponent. Instead of meeting force with force, the martial artist uses the opponent's energy against them. They don't try to overpower. They flow with the movement, redirecting it in a way that leaves the opponent vulnerable. This is the key. True strength lies not in forcing things to happen, but in understanding how to move with them. In life, it's the same principle. The more you try to control, the more you find yourself at odds with the natural flow of things. The more you push for things to go your way, the more you find yourself overwhelmed by the things that are outside your control. But when you learn to move with the flow, to adapt to what life brings, you discover a new form of strength, the strength of adaptability. When you stop trying to control everything, you free yourself from the weight of perfectionism. You stop fearing failure because you know that every setback is just a part of the journey. You stop resisting change because you understand that it is the very thing that helps you grow. Influence comes from understanding this paradox. Influence is not about domination. It's about trust, alignment, and the ability to move with life instead of against it. The more you try to control, the more you exhaust yourself. The more you let go, the more you find yourself at peace. Now, let's take a closer look at the ways control shows up in your life. Where do you feel the need to control? Is it in your work? Where you feel you have to manage every detail to ensure success? Is it in your relationships, where you try to shape the behavior of others in order to feel safe? Or is it in your own emotions, where you try to suppress what you feel because you're afraid of what might happen if you let it out? Take a moment to reflect. Where am I trying to control the uncontrollable? Where am I holding on so tightly that I'm actually creating more stress for myself? Write it down and ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped trying to control this? What if I allowed things to unfold naturally, trusting that I will be able to handle whatever comes my way? When you relinquish control, you give yourself the freedom to experience life fully. You stop living in fear of what might go wrong and start living in anticipation of what could go right. You stop worrying about the future and begin to enjoy the present. The moment you let go of the need for control is the moment you begin to experience true freedom. Now, this doesn't mean you stop taking action. It doesn't mean you stop setting goals or making plans. But it means you stop attaching your sense of self-worth to the outcomes of those plans. It means you stop measuring your success by how much you can control, and start measuring it by how gracefully you can navigate life's unpredictability. True power comes from within. It doesn't come from controlling others or controlling circumstances. It comes from mastering yourself, from being able to stand firm in your values, your beliefs, and your actions, no matter what happens around you. When you let go of control, you allow yourself to move with the rhythm of life, to embrace uncertainty with confidence, and to influence the world around you without force. Let's think about relationships for a moment. How often do you try to control your relationships, wanting them to unfold in a certain way, expecting others to behave in specific ways? The more you try to control your relationships, the more you distance yourself from true connection. When you let go of control, when you allow others to be who they truly are, the relationship deepens. It becomes more authentic, more meaningful, because it is not based on expectation, but on mutual respect and freedom. The same is true in your work. How often do you feel the need to control every aspect of a project, fearing that if you let go, things will fall apart? The irony is that the more you try to control, the more you stifle creativity, innovation, and collaboration. When you trust others, when you allow them to take ownership, you create an environment of empowerment and growth. True leadership isn't about controlling others. It's about empowering them to make decisions, take risks, and contribute their unique strengths to the team. Control feels like strength, but it's often rooted in fear. True strength lies in releasing the need for control and trusting that everything will unfold as it should. When you stop trying to bend life to your will and start moving with it, you begin to experience a form of power that is effortless, fluid, and profound. So, I challenge you today. What in your life have you been trying to control that you could instead learn to influence? What relationships, projects, or emotions are you gripping so tightly that you're actually hindering progress? What would happen if you released your need to control and started trusting in the process, in others, and in yourself? When you stop clinging to control, you open yourself to the vast possibilities of the unknown. You stop fearing change and start embracing it. And in that embrace, you'll find that you are not just surviving life's twists and turns. You are leading them with grace, clarity, and power. Every interaction you have is more than just a conversation, more than just an exchange of words. It's a mirror reflecting something about you, and an echo amplifying something about the person you're engaging with. Most of us don't realize this dynamic, and so we miss the opportunity to wield one of the most powerful tools of influence. We focus on the surface level, the words, the actions, the gestures, but we fail to recognize the deeper, silent exchange that is taking place beneath the surface. Imagine you're having a conversation with someone you just met. What do you pay attention to? Likely, you listen to their words, observe their body language, and try to gauge their emotions based on what they show you. But what if I told you that the way you engage with them, your energy, your presence, and the way you show up in that moment will be reflected back at you? People respond not just to what you say, but to how you make them feel. This is the law of mirrors and echoes. The energy you project in every interaction is mirrored back to you by the person you're engaging with. If you project confidence, they are more likely to respond with respect and openness. If you project insecurity, they may mirror that hesitation, making the interaction more difficult. People don't just respond to your words. They respond to the energy you bring into the space. And the most powerful thing you can do to influence others is to be aware of the energy you're radiating. The most successful people, the ones who truly influence others, are those who are conscious of the energy they carry. They know that influence isn't just about the words they say. It's about the energy they exude, the space they create, and the way they make others feel. And the beauty of this is that you can consciously control your energy. You can choose what you project. And in doing so, you can influence the way others respond to you. Think about the last time you were in a room with someone who had a commanding presence. Maybe it was a leader, a public speaker, or even a friend. You didn't have to be told to listen to them. You didn't have to be convinced that their words were worth hearing. You simply felt drawn to them. They had an energy about them that demanded attention, not because they were louder or more forceful, but because they were aligned with their own truth. Their confidence radiated outward, and it made others feel more confident in return. This is the power of the silent language of influence. But it's not just about confidence. It's also about empathy, vulnerability, and authenticity. The more you are aligned with your true self, the more others will sense it and respond accordingly. When you project authenticity, people will trust you. When you project vulnerability, people will connect with you. When you project compassion, people will open up to you. Every moment you engage with someone is an opportunity to influence them, not through words, but through the energy you bring into the interaction. This is why it's so important to be aware of the energy you carry, the way you feel about yourself, the way you see the world, and the way you approach each moment will directly influence how others respond to you. If you're feeling insecure or frustrated, that will show in your interactions. But if you walk into a room with confidence, with openness, and with a sense of inner peace, that energy will attract similar energies from others. You may have heard the phrase, like attracts like. It's a simple concept, but it holds immense power. The energy you put out into the world is reflected back at you. If you want to attract positive, supportive, and empowering people into your life, you must first be those things yourself. If you want to build a team that trusts and respects you, you must first trust and respect yourself. If you want to inspire others, you must first be inspired. But here's the catch. You cannot fake this energy. You can't just tell people you're confident and expect them to believe you. You can't just say you're compassionate and expect people to feel it. Authenticity isn't something you can perform. It's something you embody. And that's where the power of this principle lies. When you are truly aligned with who you are, when your inner truth matches your outer expression, you begin to influence others without even trying. Let's take a moment to reflect on the energy you bring into each room. How do you show up? Are you guarded, unsure of yourself, and hesitant? Or are you open, confident, and clear in your intentions? Take a moment to think about how others respond to you based on this energy. Do they mirror your uncertainty, or do they meet your confidence with their own? It's important to realize that this energy is not just felt by others. It's felt by you, too. When you project positive energy, you not only influence those around you, but you also empower yourself. Confidence isn't just about making others feel good. It's about making yourself feel good. It's about stepping into your power and owning the space you occupy. When you do this, you begin to notice that the world responds to you differently. People are more open to your ideas, more willing to support you, and more likely to trust you. But how do you start to change your energy? It begins with awareness. You need to pay attention to how you're feeling in each moment and how that feeling is influencing the way you show up. If you're feeling anxious or unsure, take a moment to center yourself. Breathe deeply and remind yourself of your strengths and your purpose. Realign your energy with who you truly are and what you truly want to achieve. Another powerful tool for shifting your energy is mindfulness. The more mindful you are of your thoughts and emotions, the more you can control the energy you bring into each situation. Practice staying present, focusing on the task at hand, and letting go of any distractions or negative emotions. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you'll find that your energy becomes more aligned and powerful. The law of mirrors and echoes is simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. By becoming aware of your energy, by aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions with your inner truth, you can begin to influence others in ways you never thought possible. The more you live authentically, the more you'll draw people who resonate with your energy. You'll find that your influence becomes effortless, that your presence speaks louder than your words, and that you begin to shape the world around you without even trying. So, as you move through your day, pay attention to the energy you bring into every interaction. Are you showing up as your true self? Are you radiating authenticity, confidence, and compassion? If not, take a moment to realign. The more you practice this, the more you'll begin to notice the positive effects it has on your life and on the people around you. You are the energy you bring into the room. Choose wisely and let it be a force of influence that shapes your world for the better. Every interaction you have is a dance. You are constantly exchanging energy, ideas, and emotions with the world around you. The truth is, whether you're aware of it or not, you're influencing others in every moment. But the most powerful form of influence is not the one that is loud, brash, or demanding. No. The most potent form of influence is the one that happens without you even trying. The one that is rooted in the quiet certainty of who you are and the clarity of your purpose. Think about the most influential people in your life. What is it about them that draws you in? What makes you trust them, respect them, and even follow them? It's not just their words, their actions, or their charisma. It's their presence, the way they show up in the world. They don't have to force their influence. It's natural, effortless, and magnetic. Their influence flows from within, and it touches everyone around them. Now, here's the key. You, too, have the power to wield this kind of influence. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room or having all the answers. It's about showing up as your authentic self, owning your truth, and trusting that your presence is enough. You don't need to manipulate, control, or force anyone to do anything. You influence by simply being yourself, when you are aligned with your own values and purpose. That energy naturally attracts and influences others. The most influential people don't rely on tactics or strategies to manipulate others. Instead, they live their truth and align their actions with their inner beliefs. This alignment is what gives them a magnetic presence. Think about someone you know who embodies this kind of influence. Perhaps it's a mentor, a leader, or even a friend. They don't have to say much, yet when they speak, their words have weight. When they act, people pay attention. Why? Because their energy is consistent with their values, their authenticity, and their purpose. Their inner alignment shines through everything they do. So, if you want to master influence, the first step is to align your inner world with your outer actions. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are all in harmony, you radiate a powerful energy that naturally draws others to you. People can sense when you are being genuine, when your words and actions match your energy. And when that alignment is present, you become a force of influence, not because you're trying to control others, but because your authenticity and purpose are compelling. The problem is, most of us are constantly out of alignment. We say one thing, but do another. We think one thing, but feel something else. This dissonance creates confusion, not only for the people around us, but for ourselves. When we're not aligned, our energy becomes fragmented, and the influence we project is weak, inconsistent, and unconvincing. That's why we often feel like we're pushing against resistance, like we're trying too hard to get people to see things our way. Alignment isn't just a mental exercise, it's a spiritual and emotional one as well. It requires you to check in with yourself on a deeper level. Are you acting in alignment with your true self, or are you trying to be someone you think you should be? Are your words reflecting your authentic beliefs, or are you saying what you think people want to hear? The more you tune into your own inner truth and align your actions with it, the more effortlessly you will influence those around you. The key is clarity. When you have clarity about who you are, what you believe, and what you want to create in the world, you will project an energy that is magnetic and powerful. People won't be able to help but notice. They will be drawn to you, not because you're trying to convince them of anything, but because they sense your authenticity. But alignment doesn't happen by accident. It's a conscious choice you make every day. It's a practice of being mindful of how you show up in the world, how you speak, how you act, how you treat others, and how you treat yourself. If you want to influence others, you must first be willing to influence yourself. Your own energy, your own mindset, and your own actions will determine the impact you have on the world. Think about the last time you were in a conversation with someone who was fully present, fully engaged, and fully themselves. How did you feel in their presence? You probably felt seen, heard, and understood. You probably felt like their words were genuine, like they weren't just speaking to impress you, but to connect with you on a deeper level. This is the magic of alignment. When you are fully aligned with who you are, people can feel it. They don't need convincing. They are drawn to your authenticity and your energy. Now ask yourself, what would it look like if I were fully aligned with my own truth? What would it look like if I spoke and acted in alignment with my deepest values, my core beliefs, and my true purpose? When you begin to live with this level of alignment, you will find that influence comes naturally. You won't have to force anything. People will be drawn to you because they will feel the truth and power of your energy. Alignment also means being authentic in the face of discomfort. It means being willing to show up as your true self, even when it feels vulnerable or risky. When you allow yourself to be seen for who you truly are, without hiding behind masks or personas, you create a deep, trusting connection with others. People trust authenticity. People follow authenticity. People are influenced by authenticity. The reason so many leaders, visionaries, and changemakers are able to inspire others is because they are so deeply aligned with their own truth. They have found the courage to show up as themselves, fully, without fear of judgment or rejection. And in doing so, they create a space where others can do the same. It's time for you to ask yourself, what parts of myself have I been hiding? What parts of my truth have I been afraid to share? These are the areas where your influence lies. Your influence doesn't come from pretending to be something you're not. It comes from owning who you are and standing in your power, fully and unapologetically. It comes from showing up as your authentic self, aligned with your values, your beliefs, and your purpose. The more you align with your inner truth, the more you will influence others, not by force, not by manipulation, but by presence. When you are fully aligned with who you are, the world will feel it. People will be drawn to you. They will trust you. They will follow you. And that is the essence of influence. Now take a moment to reflect. What would it look like if you showed up today as your most authentic self? If you spoke and acted in alignment with your values and purpose? Write it down. Commit to it. Because that is where your true influence begins. The weight of unspoken promises can be heavier than we realize. It's not just the promises we've made with words. It's the quiet, invisible agreements that we've made with ourselves, with others, and even with the world around us. These promises are often unacknowledged, but they shape the course of our relationships, our actions, and our lives. And when these promises are broken, the damage is not always obvious, but it is deep. Think about the promises you've made in your life. You might have made promises to your family, to your friends, or even to yourself. Some of these promises were spoken out loud, but many of them were silent commitments that you didn't even realize you made. Perhaps it was the promise to always be there for someone you care about, the promise to live a life of integrity, or the promise to follow your dreams. But what happens when those promises are broken? Promises, whether spoken or not, carry weight. They create expectations, and when they are not honored, they leave behind a sense of betrayal, disappointment, and sometimes deep emotional wounds. But the most powerful unspoken promises are the ones we make to ourselves. These are the promises about who we want to be, the person we aspire to become. When we break those promises, when we fail to live up to our own expectations, we don't just break trust with others, we break trust with ourselves. The truth is, we can't influence others if we don't first honor the promises we've made to ourselves. We can't lead with integrity if we've compromised our own values. We can't expect others to trust us if we don't trust ourselves. This is why self-accountability is the foundation of all influence. If you want to have a lasting impact on the world, if you want to influence others, you must first honor the promises you've made to yourself. Only then can you truly honor the promises you make to others. It's easy to get caught up in the big promises, the ones we make to others about how we will help, support, or take action in the world. But it's the small, personal promises that matter most. It's the promise to show up for yourself every day, to take care of your health, to honor your values, and to pursue your passions. When you break these small promises, the impact is often invisible, but it's just as significant as breaking a big promise. The erosion of self-trust happens quietly, but it's powerful. It diminishes your ability to influence others and to lead your life with purpose. But here's the liberating truth. You can rebuild those promises. You can reclaim the trust you've lost with yourself by honoring your commitments, both big and small. When you begin to live in alignment with your values and your promises, you will not only rebuild your self-trust, but you will also start to influence others in a way that is powerful and authentic. Think about someone you admire. Chances are, one of the reasons you admire them is because they keep their promises. When they say they'll do something, they follow through. When they commit to a cause, they give it their all. They are reliable, dependable, and trustworthy. And that's why people listen to them, follow them, and respect them. Influence is not about being perfect, but about being consistent, consistently showing up, consistently honoring your word, and consistently living according to your values. Now, let's reflect on your own life. Where have you broken promises to yourself? Perhaps you promised to take care of your health, but neglected it. Maybe you promised to pursue a passion, but let fear or doubt hold you back. Maybe you promised to take bold action toward your dreams, but procrastinated. Think about the promises you've made and how they've shaped your sense of self-worth and trust. What small actions can you take today to start honoring those promises? Maybe it's setting aside time for self-care, taking that first step toward a goal you've been avoiding, or speaking your truth more authentically. Whatever it is, take action. Every time you honor a promise to yourself, you strengthen your own integrity and your ability to influence the world around you. But it's not just about honoring promises to yourself. It's about honoring your promises to others. When you say you're going to do something, follow through. When you make a commitment, give it your all. The people around you will start to trust you because they know they can count on you. And that trust will build a foundation of influence that goes far beyond your words. It will be the consistency of your actions that speaks louder than anything else. Now think about the people in your life. What promises have you made to them? Have you followed through? What promises do you still need to keep? What does it mean for you to be trustworthy in their eyes? The more you align your actions with your promises, the more you'll influence them in a way that is powerful and lasting. The most influential people in the world are the ones who are trustworthy, who honor their promises, who live authentically, and who show up with consistency. They lead not by dominating others, but by creating an environment where others can trust them and feel inspired to follow. The same is true for you. If you want to create a lasting impact, if you want to influence others, you must begin by honoring the promises you've made to yourself and to others. By doing so, you will not only gain the trust and respect of the people around you, but you will also experience a deeper sense of fulfillment and integrity. So here's your challenge. Take a moment to reflect on the promises you've made to yourself. Write them down. What small action can you take today to honor those promises? Start small, but start today. The more you honor your word, the more influence you will gain, not by trying to control or manipulate, but by leading with integrity, authenticity, and consistency. Influence is not about what you say, it's about what you do, consistently, every single day. Most people live their lives reacting to the world around them. They let circumstances dictate their decisions, and they wait for opportunities to come to them. They wait for the right moment, for the stars to align, for the perfect set of conditions. But here's the hard truth. Waiting is the thief of progress. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment to make a move, you'll never make one at all. The key to mastery, to influence, and to true success lies in deciding to act now. The moment you decide that enough is enough, the moment you stop waiting for permission and start taking responsibility for your own actions. That's when everything changes. It's not the circumstances that define your life. It's the choices you make in every single moment. When you make a choice to act, to step forward in the face of uncertainty, you take back control of your life. You stop letting life happen to you and start creating the life you want. Think about the times in your life when you were faced with a choice, a chance to move forward or to stay where you were. Maybe you hesitated. Maybe you feared failure. But look back, and you'll see that the times you did act, the times you chose to take that leap, were the moments that truly shaped your destiny. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. We spend so much time analyzing, overthinking, and trying to make everything perfect before we move forward. But here's the thing. Perfection doesn't exist. It's the act of moving forward, even imperfectly, that creates the momentum you need to succeed. Waiting for the right time will only hold you back. The right time is always now. The more you wait, the more opportunities slip through your fingers. The more you hesitate, the more you miss out on the growth that comes from taking action, making mistakes, and learning along the way. The truth is, success is built on the foundation of failure. We all fail. It's inevitable. But failure is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. Failure is not a reflection of your abilities. It's a sign that you are stepping out of your comfort zone, pushing boundaries, and taking risks. Every failure is a lesson in disguise, a stepping stone on the path to success. Influence is born from action, not inaction. You influence others not by waiting for the perfect moment, but by showing up and doing the work. When you act with confidence, even in the face of uncertainty, you inspire others to do the same. When you take risks, others will follow your lead. And when you consistently act with purpose, people will be drawn to your energy and your vision. Let's talk about mindset. Your mindset shapes your actions, and your actions shape your results. If you approach life with a mindset of "I'll start when everything is perfect," you'll never start. But if you adopt the mindset of "I will start now, and I will learn as I go," you begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. This shift in mindset is the key to creating influence, not just over others, but over yourself. The more you take action, the more you begin to realize that the act of doing is what brings results. So, ask yourself, what have I been waiting for? What's holding me back from taking that first step? Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's doubt. Maybe it's the fear of failure. But remember, you can't control everything. You can't control how people will respond, or whether everything will go according to plan. But what you can control is your decision to act. The moment you decide to act is the moment you take back your power. The people who change the world, who leave a lasting legacy, are the ones who don't wait for things to be perfect. They don't wait for the stars to align. They make the choice to act, to move forward, even when things are uncertain. They take the leap, and it is through these leaps that they create impact, influence, and success. You are capable of the same. You have within you everything you need to take the next step. You don't need permission. You don't need everything to be perfect. All you need is the courage to start. The world doesn't wait for you to be ready. It moves forward, with or without you. The question is, will you move with it, or will you stay behind? Take a moment to reflect. What is one thing you've been waiting to do? What is one action you can take today to move closer to your goal. It doesn't have to be a huge step, just a small one. The most important thing is to take action. Start now. The more you act, the more you will see progress. The more you move, the more the world will move with you. Here's the challenge. Decide today to stop waiting. Take that first step, no matter how small. And when you do, remember that action is the catalyst for everything that follows. Influence, success, and fulfillment are born from the act of doing. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Start imperfectly. Start now, and watch how your life begins to shift as you step forward. Remember, it's not the destination that matters most. It's the journey. The action you take today will create the path for tomorrow, and that path will lead you to a life of influence, purpose, and fulfillment. As you reach the end of this journey, let me remind you of the most important truth. You already possess everything you need to shape your life, influence those around you, and make a lasting impact on the world. The only thing standing between you and the life you desire is the decision to step into your power, to align your inner truth with your actions, and to embrace the challenges that come with growth. In this journey, you've learned that influence isn't about manipulation or control. It's about alignment, authenticity, and the quiet power of showing up as your true self. It's about honoring your promises, facing your fears, and taking action, even when the path ahead isn't clear. Every step you take in the direction of your purpose, every decision to live authentically, will unlock more of the power that lies within you. You may have felt moments of uncertainty along the way, and that's okay. Uncertainty is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you are pushing yourself to grow, to become more than you were yesterday. The most powerful people in the world are not those who have everything figured out. They are the ones who choose to keep moving forward, even when they're uncertain, and even when the world around them doesn't give them the answers they seek. Remember, the most influential leaders, the most powerful individuals, are not defined by their titles or their achievements. They are defined by their ability to embody their truth, to stay grounded in their values, and to inspire others through their actions. You have that same ability within you. So, as you step into the world today, know that your presence is enough. Your authenticity is enough. You are enough. Start living with that certainty, and watch how everything around you begins to shift. This is your time. Embrace it fully, and make your impact.